should have warned me about this earlier. I would have thought about it. I think if you think about, I mean, more broadly rather than specific, we go through things. We're focusing on financial news, as everyone knows at Bloomberg. So if you look at the earnings season in Japan has just finished. Thousands of companies pumping out earnings releases, very often all at the same time on a range of days. You'll have hundreds of press releases coming from the Tokyo Stock Exchange within the space of about a minute. Now, historically, what you would have to do is have a team of people mining that stuff, hunting for those numbers. Now, not only do you want to get the number out, what was the profit number, but then there's some commentary in there, right? That's where the stuff is probably going to move the market is. So you need someone to read that, make a judgment call on what's important, what's not, put it in a headline. All of this is happening while the stock market is trading. So what we can do now is all of the numbers part is automatic. So the second those 100 releases, I am right, Brian, I'll tell you, our Japan managing editor is nodding at me, so I've got this right. You get a bank of headlines comes out. Not only does that feed onto the wild crypto read, but it automatically feeds into all of the data screens on the terminal so that everyone can put the context in the analysis. And then the journalists can sit and read the actual commentary and think about what is the most interesting, what's the surprise? What is in this that I need to generate a news story from? Not a data point, but a news story. Previously, they were mining the data first, and that could take several minutes. Now they go straight for the news, straight for the surprise. And I think that adds an enormous amount of value. It's much more interesting as well for the journalists, right? You're not actually just mining a table for a number to be an extractor. That's a difficult job. It takes a long time to get really good at it. It's incredibly repetitive. And people don't want to do that forever. Now machines never get tired, right? They never get bored. They just keep on doing it. So the journalist doesn't have to worry about getting bored. You can just go back and think about what smart thing can you write about this story rather than just being a data extractor. So that's what happens every day. Japan is a good example because of the way that they deliver a lot of the earnings stuff. We're now trying to take that one step further. We're doing it mostly in New York. Remember, this will be come to Asia probably next year. That is, rather than just putting out an instant headline with the number, we are mining the data and pre-programming it so that you will have a short story which will put it in context. So it will tell you this is what the earnings number is, this is what the market was expecting that number to be. So then you can make a judgment call about whether this is interesting or not. Is it a surprise or is it in line with expectations? So that's sort of the next step, which again would have taken someone 10 minutes to put that together, to find the number, to put it together, get an editor to publish it. That also will happen in a blink. So then, yet again, you're freeing up people to look deeper. Maybe we should be getting on the phone and speaking to the human being who runs that company and asking them some questions to take the story forward. We can do something a little bit more imaginative, a bit more creative, rather than just being a factory churning out these numbers. So these are the sorts of things we're trying to do.
So for the AP, we've been automating business earnings stories since late 2014 because, with the shrinking resources, we realized that, when you start as a journalist, it's not your dream to write a perfect quarterly earnings stories, right? Like, that's no one's dream. And so
we're not working at Bloomberg.
So at the AP, we basically work with automated insight, and we hire an automation editor. I mean, it's a really cool title. I wish I had that title. Where we work with the algorithm to not only mine the data, but to actually figure out natural language processes to produce the basic earnings stories, right? And we even develop process how we could quality assure the stories to make sure that all the intricate data that's coming in is coming in correctly and is being put in this particular sentence. And it's actually really difficult to figure out how to automate the entire story, where we meet with our partners, our automation editor, our business editors, our business reporter, sit down and we basically write draft of the story and figure out how do they automate this into natural language through codes. And believe it or not, it's basically a year-long process for the editors and the partners to sit down and figure out that particular angle. So we've been doing that with business stories, and we've been also automating some of our information graphics, where we could, again, I don't want my producers to spend their time to do quarterly GDP updates or even month-to-month CPI. I'd much rather have them focus on things that's more unique to the AP, and that's precisely what automation allows us to do. You free up all of our business journalists and some of my producers to focus on enterprise stories and unique stories that will move our journalism further. Not saying that the quarterly earnings wouldn't do that. Some would surprise you, but a lot of times it's just run of the mill.
Well, you've talked about how the tools can help writers, and Seonjung, you have used the tools of digital drones. You're a photographer.
Yeah.
You have, I guess, grown up with the technological advancements from this camera, and now that camera. Tell us about how you've been able to evolve yourself as a journalist.
As a photographer, I always try to find a new angle, new frame, but we have some restrictions like some space, kind of something. So I'm always looking for some kind of stuff. And some press photographers took a helicopter and shot from the air, but helicopter is really expensive, and I didn't have many chances. So from 3 years ago, I was thinking about drone, and I bought some drones, not this one, this kind of stuff, and started to photograph for video. I also usually working for Bloomberg, and if possible, can I see some photos?
Sure.
Okay. I'm a photographer. 3 years ago, I started drone photography with this drone. Looks like expensive. It's hard to get permission from my wife. So expensive. And many people think the drone photography is just going in the sky and take photos and show general view. But I think most attractive point of using a drone is rediscovery of subject. So I'm gonna share with you some photos. This one is the first photo I used for Bloomberg, and my photo editor asked me, how did you take this picture? And I said, my answer was a drone. For Bloomberg photographer, I got a chance to shoot a lot of industry spots like car export, container terminal, and shipyard. And this one I took from the rooftop of Hyundai Motor Factory, Assam. And when I see the patterns of vehicles, I was thinking about, what about taking some pictures from helicopter, from air? But I didn't have any chance. And 1 year later, I visited this place with my drone and made this photo. And if you are a photo editor, which one is your choice? This one? Also, container terminal, I made this kind of stuff. And this is not drone, this is just from the mountain, but I don't have any, I don't need to climb a mountain anymore because I have this drone now. And this is from shipyard. The shipyard industry is really good in South Korea, but not these days. And I shot this picture from the top of a crane, but this one also from the drone, the vertical bird's eye view. And I'm gonna show some picture, and the solar panels in Kohung, the southern part of the country. And this is also taken by drone, but I told you the rediscovery is more important. The Haeundae Beach, famous place, and drone. Oh, too fast. And port and drone. This place is Gyeongju, and famous for Asian town complex. But I found 2 months later this one. You can see the small stuff. There's a workers more grace of thumbs and looks like bottom of monkey. There's a salt pan in Jeonju Island and the rediscovery. Workers harvest salt. And the wind turbine in Jeju Island. And I think that you guys can take this kind of picture from a helicopter, but I want to take pictures only by drone, and I think this angle is only by drone. Do you think this is dangerous? But no dangerous because no wind. And village in Jeju Island, left in, and the rice harvest. And radish harvest workers harvest radish. This picture was featured on the front page of the Korean newspaper, the color of South Korea's autumn. Also, I got a chance to, this one is not the landscape picture. Look at small people. This is a marathon picture featured on the newspaper. But this picture was not a plane what I had in mind. So I tried this angle from drone. And oyster palm and another rediscovery by a drone. And this one is the Uum Island, wetland nearby Hwasong, and it's not far from Seoul. It's maybe 1.5 hours from here. And so another rediscovery of the wetland. Lastly, I want to show some the landscape of South Korea's the winter and the leaf patterns. And there's the village in Gochang, the western part of the country. And when I see the landscape of this pattern, I saw the white road in the middle of the frame and made this kind of picture. And lastly, I want to show this picture from Mongolia. Lastly, I shot for Bluebird. And this is a normal picture, I think, but we always apply the rediscovery by drone. Thanks so much. Our point of view is horizontal view, like that kind of camera. But after the drone age, I think that this age, we're gonna see like I call this one vertical bird's eye view, and from the air, we can shoot like this one, like vertical bird's eye view, and I think that this is the change of paradigm, what we see and kind of concept. So I think the drone gonna be changing a lot of our point of view, especially from horizontal view to vertical bird's eye view. Also, a lot of kind of some visually compelling images is really important for photo story. So I think they're gonna change everything, especially visual stuff in journalism. Yeah. But you know what, Jagi, if you want to use a drone, especially here in Korea, there are a lot of laws. So it's not easy to, I cannot use this drone, especially here, because the blue house is just nearby, so it cannot operate. The drone company DJI block is not operated nearby blue house, nearby airport, so I think that it's not actually not related with freedom of journalism because if some journalists and photographers want to use this drone, we always need to get permission, especially from Korea. We need to get permission from Defense Ministry, from the Aviation Authority. So I think that I couldn't see any journalists using this drone at the protest or demonstration so far. So because of law. So I think the law is a little bit similar in US or other country. I'm not sure about the law about the other country, but in Korea, we always need to get permission from government to use this drone.
Rich, necessarily. You don't go into it for fame and fortune. Maybe a little bit of fame, perhaps, if you're lucky. What? But there's the rewards are manifold in other ways, and I think people just have a passion for this industry, and the people who succeed do have that passion. And it means that, yeah, okay, there are demands on your time, and it sometimes means a late night or an all-nighter, perhaps, or working weekends.
My question comes off from the topic we had about the drones and the government regulations that the reporter had to navigate through. And I was wondering how many of these technologies depend on other industries lobbying the government. Because the example I can come up with drones in Korea was that recently the government has started looking at loosening regulations for drones, but only because chicken restaurants want to deliver chicken faster and advertise better. And so I was wondering if any of the technologies that journalists use require sort of other industries to lobby for their use.
How can we combine our lobbies together? Chicken farmers and journalists together.
Just a little bit of historic context. I think historically, all the technology that journalists use are contingent on other people's usage. right? That's, think about AP's history. We just celebrated a 170-year anniversary. And back in the 1800s, we used the Marconi wire, right, which is not meant for journalism. We use it to disseminate news. It was our first text message. It was 8 words per minute. So imagine the regulation. So I think a lot of what we're doing now, especially drones, is really right now at the forefront in terms of dealing with regulation. But in terms of your question, in terms of historical, context, we've been at this with all sorts of technology. It's nothing unique, right? Television wasn't meant for news, right? And right now, VR is the same thing. We have more device available than there are content. So I think more and more, as technology accelerates, you're going to have a lot of different contingency on other industry to lobby on their usage. And then we as media is really about how we adapt that technology to tell stories.
Yeah, I mean, if the government is trying to stop you doing something, it's probably a good idea to keep going. I mean, journalists, are not, governments tend not to be big fans of journalists or big supporters, because journalists, if you're doing our job properly, we tend to annoy governments, right? So I don't think lobbying by journalists never gets you very far. So maybe we do have to think more about who we're partnering with to get people. Maybe KFC hooking up with them. I don't know, but I think. On the drone, there may be very good reasons for restricting drone flights in certain areas. But I think when people read the stories and see the images that are produced, that's how we get our biggest lobbyists are really the public, right? Who demand to have the information and the stories and the images that they want to do to understand the world. So I think that's who we really rely on.
And we really need to remember that we are advocates for our greater audience, which is each and every one of you. And I apologize, we have run out of time. There's a lot more opportunity to talk to these folks, to talk amongst each other. It's a 2-day conference. We're going to learn a lot together, and we're going to collaborate a lot together. There's strength in numbers.